You ready? Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Brandon again, back at you with another episode of Ball Sports. This is a special edition. It's going to be a lengthy episode, so make sure you tune in and watch the whole video. This is the history of the Indianapolis Colts. If you like the video, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, comment on the video. Let me know how I did. I put a lot of time and effort into this, so everybody enjoy. Thanks. The history of the Indianapolis Colts starts in 1953, where they were established in Baltimore, Maryland. They would eventually make the move to Indianapolis in 1983. The Colts have won a championship in both cities. In 1970, they won a championship for Baltimore, and in 2007, they won a Super Bowl for Indianapolis. There has been many great NFL players that have worn a Colts jersey. The most notable three are probably Johnny Unitas, Peyton Manning, and Marvin Harrison. All were an important part in shaping the Colts organization into what they are today. In this video, I will be going into detail about the Peyton Manning era in Indianapolis, which started in 1998 and ended in 2011, as well as some of the great Colts players during that time period. The Peyton Manning era started in 1998, where the Colts took him in the draft. Despite being taken early in the 98 draft, they only won 3 games in Peyton Manning's first season. In 1998, Edgerrin James was drafted, and the Colts won 13 games but lost in the divisional playoffs. In 2000, there was a heavy turnaround. They only had 6 wins, 10 losses, didn't even make the playoffs. In 2001, it was a very pivotal moment for the Colts when they fired Jim Mora and signed Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was a great coach, one of the best coaches of all time. He was known for seeing potential in players that were undrafted and weren't looked highly at coming out of college. Tony Dungy drafted a lot of good players that a lot of people didn't have hope for. 2002, they finished 10-6, and Peyton Manning was showing signs that he was going to be a great quarterback of the future. He had the IQ, he had the arm strength, and it turned out to be right. Peyton Manning was showing signs this season that he was a quarterback to be respected. In 2003, they finished with 12 wins but lost to the Patriots in both seasons. In 2003 and 2004, they lost to the Patriots. And then in 2005, they started 13-0, and Manning and Harrison set records together but lost to the Steelers in the playoffs again. 2006, they finally overcame Tom Brady, where they would win the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning would win his first Super Bowl for the Indianapolis Colts after many years of being stuck by the Patriots and then beating them in the playoffs. The Patriots and Tom Brady were kind of the kryptonite to Peyton Manning throughout his whole career, but in 2006 he got the best of him and finally got him a Super Bowl. We'll skip a little bit ahead. In 2009, they would start off 14-0, bench the starters for the last 2 games of the season, and then go on to lose the Super Bowl against the Saints. Very close game. Peyton Manning interception at the end of the game kind of sealed the deal for the Saints. Drew Brees got his first championship. It shows that the Colts just kind of came up short. That was Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl appearance. In 2010, Peyton Manning will play his last game as a Colt, and he would eventually be let go by the Colts after suffering a neck injury and not playing. Very, very sad time for the Colts. I remember this as a young kid. Peyton Manning leaving was so crazy and very upsetting. A lot of people still in Indiana will still be rocking a Peyton Manning Colts jersey. I know his number's retired. He's got a statue outside of it. Peyton Manning was important to the state of Indiana, and more important to the city of Indianapolis. At the end of the Peyton Manning era, it would start the Andrew Luck era in 2012. Andrew Luck was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts first overall. He played good in his first season, giving Indy signs of hope. Finished with the 11-5 record. The Colts were used to losing after absence of Peyton Manning and everything that happened with him, Andrew Luck gave the Colts signs of hope that they were going to be a championship team, or they were at least going to compete for a championship to years to come. In 2014, Andrew Luck would take the Colts all the way to the AFC Championship, where he would lose. This is probably the highlight of Andrew Luck's career. Sad to say, because he could have done way more, I'm pretty sure. But this was his main highlight. He got to the AFC Championship once and lost. In 2015, they finished with an 8-8 record. Andrew Luck going through a little bit of injury problems. In September 2015, the injury woes started for Andrew Luck. A lot of different injuries were going on, and he was sidelined for a long period of time. Kind of slowed down the hopes for him after the injuries and his progression as a player. His last season, when he did play, he actually did show signs that he could still be a great quarterback for many years to come. But due to all the injuries, he decided to retire. Very sad story. In 2018, Jacoby Brissett stepped up in Andrew Luck's absence and still gave the Colts signs of hope, as he was a productive quarterback too. Not the same as Peyton and Andrew Luck, but overall a very good quarterback. Wherever he decides to go, I'm sure he will be a great quarterback there too, Jacoby Brissett. The Colts have a thing with making quarterbacks good, and Jacoby fit right into the system, virtually the same player as Andrew Luck. He didn't even miss a beat, really. And then in the Colts finished 2019, 2020 at 7-9. Not bad for everything that they went through with all the emotional distractions and everything that was going on in the locker room. 7-9 wasn't terrible. They lost a lot of games by 7 points or less. And as the 2021 season approaches, I'd like to see the Colts' future. I'm kind of worried about it, honestly. I don't know where they're going to go or what they're going to do at this point. They say something like Phillip Rivers might get there. They might bring another quarterback in. I think their best bet is to stick with a young guy like Jacoby, who's shown that he could have a future in the NFL. Jacoby came from the Patriots, which are also known for making great quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett, hopefully he stays there and he can hold them down. The Indianapolis Colts have had a long ride, as you can tell. They've had two great quarterbacks who they've had to let go. One retired, and Peyton Manning they had to let go. Unfortunately for them, Peyton Manning went on to show them that he was still an elite quarterback and they shouldn't have let him go. Despite the neck injury that he had, Peyton Manning came back and he was a dominant quarterback as always. I'm just kind of nervous about the Indianapolis Colts' future. I really hope that they get things together. They get a star quarterback. You know, they got good pieces around on the offense and defense. They got Clayton Gathers. I know Marlon Mack was carrying the ball for a little bit. Obviously, T.Y. Hilton's very good. Probably one of the best receivers in the league right now. And the coaching is always excellent with the Colts. They find a way to find the best coaches, or they find a way to find a coach that everybody was sleeping on, and he turns out to be a great coach. Chuck Pagano was not a bad coach. Unfortunately, he was let go too. Ever since about 2015, there's been a lot of things going on with the Indianapolis Colts. I really hope that they can pull things together and turn around and get back to competing for a championship like they did for many years. And I do think they're heading in the right direction. I think the defense needs a little bit more help. Obviously, the special teams needs help a little bit more. They're one of the last in special teams efficiency and things like that. The Colts are gonna be an alright team though. I don't see them tanking and being completely bad, and I don't see them being a good team, at least for the next 2 or 3 years. But I hope I'm wrong. And now I'm gonna be listing a couple Colts players that'll really ring some bells to you and kind of be like, man, I forgot about him. Some of the great Colts players during the Peyton Manning era up until now, really. I'll try to get them all off as fast as I can. Peyton Manning, he was drafted in 98 and played until 2010 for him, won a Super Bowl for him. Edgerrin James played for the Colts 99 to 05, one of the best running backs of all time. Joseph Addai won the Super Bowl with the Colts in 2006. Marvin Harrison, number 2 all time in NFL. Reggie Wayne had over 14,000 career yards. Dallas Clark revolutionized the tight end position. Austin Collie was a heavy part in Peyton Manning's last years. Brandon Stokely had 10 touchdowns in 2004 for the Colts. Dominic Rhodes was a strong backup for years for the Indianapolis Colts, who constantly came back to the Colts. Anthony Gonzalez was a great player when healthy and is a U.S. politician now. Jeff Saturday, one of the greatest centers of all time, and is now an NFL analyst. Robert Mathis played 14 years for the Colts, one of the best linemen for the Colts of all time. Dwight Freeney, also one of the best defensive ends, one of the fastest defensive ends we have ever seen. Gary Brackett was a consistent middle linebacker who hardly ever missed a start. Cato June fit the Colts defensive system at the time. Jason David made big plays in crucial moments. Marlon Jackson, game-sealing interception to send the Colts to the Super Bowl, where they would eventually win in 2007. Anton Bethea, great playmaking safety who was always on the field. Melvin Bullitt was a great backup safety. Adam Vinatieri, who was the greatest kicker probably of all time. Hard to argue with that one. And Bob Sanders, when he was on the field, Bob Sanders was probably the greatest safety of all time. He was a big impact for the Colts, especially when he was on the field. He made a lot of game-saving plays, a lot of clutch moments in his part. Bob Sanders was probably my favorite player of all time, at least favorite defensive back of all time. If he wouldn't have got injured as much, he definitely would have been a crazy, crazy safety, and he probably would have set plenty of records, but unfortunately that's not how his story panned out. There's probably a lot of Colts players that I could have mentioned that probably deserved a mention. So if you got any of those, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And thanks for always supporting the channel. This has been another episode of Ball Sports.